Hi, my name is Jenny Worsham, and this recording is for SPED 757, Special Education Reform Module 3. How does Congress define disability? Congress defines disability as a natural part of the human experience and does not diminish the right of individuals to participate or contribute to society. In the context of Individuals with Disability Education Act, there are about 12 different categories that people can be classified in. The second question is, why did Congress decide IDEA was needed? Well, because children weren't receiving an education if they had a disability before 1973. Children were excluded entirely from public institutions. Undiagnosed disabilities were pretty high, being that they did not have the opportunity to attend school, in addition to diminishing the educational experience of any children. Being exposed to children with disabilities, having a disability, and being in the educational system. What impact has IDEA had since 1975? It's increased access to education, being that now free and appropriate public education is mandatory in the least restrictive environment, so that kids with disabilities can be educated alongside their non-disabled peers. IEPs, early intervention, improved accountability for schools, just making sure that kids with disabilities are receiving an education and access to the general education curriculum, transition services, parental involvement, even reduction of discrimination and increased awareness of people with disabilities. What future changes to IDEA are proposed in special education research? Having high expectations for children to make sure that they can access the general curriculum to the maximum extent possible. Strengthening the roles of parents. Coordinating this act with other local education services to make sure that students who have a disability are receiving services and it's not a place where they're sent. Providing appropriate special education services and aids and supports in the classroom, making sure that the development of technology is kind of being used. So any assistive technology that can help with kids who do not have speech. And what are the federal government's SIAs, LEAs, parents, schools, and teachers responsible for? Well, the federal government is responsible for funding and policy and oversight of the U.S. Department of Education, making sure that everybody's in compliance with the IDEA regulations. State educational agencies, or SIAs, are responsible for developing and implementing a comprehensive state plan where they will provide special education-related services to students with disabilities within a state. Distribution of funds, monitoring the compliance of schools with IDEA. Local education agencies, or LEAs, are responsible for providing special education and related services to students that are eligible. Individualized education plans, developing, implementing, reviewing them annually. Making sure that students are receiving an education in the least restrictive environment, and hiring qualified personnel. Parents are required to give informed consent before their student is evaluated for anything. They're also required to be part of the IEP process, making sure that they're involved in meetings and goal planning and the right to due process. So if they do disagree with something, that there is a resolution. And with their school and for their children's education's sake. The schools are required to provide FAPE, provide LRE, and behavioral interventions that can help the student. Teachers are required to implement the IEP and any services or needs that need to be met within the IEP. Teachers must regularly assess the progress of students with disabilities and should support inclusion and differentiation in the classroom. How does Congress define and address the issue of disproportionality in special education through IDEA? Well, The definition is a significant overrepresentation of students from specific racial or ethnic groups in particular disability category or identification for special education services. The disproportionality can result from inappropriate identification, practices, or lack of appropriate educational opportunities. This is addressed by making sure that there's data collection and analysis being taken place in the school. Data such as race and ethnicity, students in special education to identify any significant disproportionality. States need to then report this information, so identification and review, any remediation and reporting. So if there needs to be an adjustment in how a school is operating or evaluating students, and it's all made public so that other people can see this. And I think by doing that, you're really holding the schools accountable. Why did Congress change? What did Congress change in the 2004 reauthorization of IDEA? Increased accountability of schools, so like state testing and making sure that students with disabilities are a part of it. Individualized education plans, transition services, discipline procedures, so making sure that we have safe schools. Dispute and resolution and mediation for parents. 3 key changes that I can discuss in relation to the readings for this module: highly qualified teachers and teacher preparation programs, addressing disproportionality, and transition services. So, for highly qualified teachers, preparing general education teachers, I think, is also key to teach everyone and introduce the use of EBPs as part of general practice when preparing general education teachers into the field. I think addressing disproportionality, there's, I'm not sure if it's accurately addressed. However, states have documented the apparent discrepancies of the levels of referral and the placement of limited English proficient children in special education. And I'm imagining this is only going to be on the rise. So again, I'm not sure if disproportionality is being addressed, and if it's successful. And finally, transition services, I think, are a great way to really focus on the goals and the needs of a student and the family once they enter high school, so that there is that end goal in mind, and that's kind of at the forefront of the family's thought process. Okay, thank you.